be contributing and listening to us online. Our session is called Recovering, or Post-COVID Recovery of Tourism. Post-COVID. So this is the most responsible, we believe, or the most difficult part. The recovery, I mean, because the COVID seems to be crawling back and the tourism seems to be recovering slowly but steadily. And we need to understand where to start, where to make our first steps in this very new so-called normalcy, new normal reality. Let me introduce myself. I'm a marketing expert, consulting. I do different consulting works on tourism in Silk Road destinations. I come from Uzbekistan. I have an experience of tour operating work. For the last 15 years, I've been organizing tours, and at the same time, I was an expert for tourism-related issues. Before the pandemic, our sector was one of the most dynamically developing and growing in the world. We were really proud of that. Actually, the 2 years before the pandemic, 2018, 2019, demonstrated the peak of tourism for Central Asia. We had a lot of work done. The tourist flows have increased. Several presidents of our countries were personally supervising the development of tourism sector, but sometimes it all stalled because of the pandemic. And now we need to understand how we could proceed further. And I would like to draw your attention to the fact, to the speakers who come from different sectors. And I would like to know what they think about this tourism sector and the tourism multiplier. So let us not just listen to what they have to say, but also let us have a discussion, because we are called the panel discussion. Any questions are welcome. You can ask your questions in the chat of the platform where you are watching the stream, whether it's Zoom participation or it's YouTube streaming or participation via Teams application. Do ask your questions. We'll try to answer all of them. However, during the presentation, during the speeches, and after every speech, we will be asking the questions to the speakers, and then only after we will have finalized all the presentations, we will move on to your questions. So please do listen to us, please do participate and send your questions, and we will start. Let me introduce our first speaker, Kairat Sadvakasov. He's not just a speaker, he also represents the institution who is the co-host and co-organizer of today's event, Kazakh Tourism. And by the way, I would like to thank our key organizer, the USAID project on competitiveness, trade and job creation in Central Asia. Together with Kazakh Tourism, they are hosting and organizing this event. Kazakh Serakovich, if you let me introduce you briefly. Well, you are well known, you're famous for your very active position on promotion of Kazakhstan. We are all familiar with your beautiful videos that were issued lately, and actually the one of them, I believe it's a kind of benchmark one, is called Kazakhstan Very Nice. Let me just use this example as an illustration, as a showcase of what needs to be done during COVID. And Kairat and his team use the Aikido principle, using the negative maybe backfire, kind of negative attitude that were caused by both Borat movies, and they turned that very lemon, the very sour lemon, into the lemonade for Kazakhstan, having launched this campaign at the end of the last year. So Kairat, I am certain, will speak about his experience. Thank you very much, Mikhail. As a co-organizer, I would also like to welcome all the panelists and all the participants, all the audience. This is a very interesting hybrid format, truly. The trend was set.
Thank you. All right, and we are gradually moving on to the next speaker, because Sem Kazbagarova, the founder and the director of a tour operator on domestic and incoming tourism in Kazakhstan and Central Asian countries, Skyway Travel. And now, Sem, we would like to hear from you about some practical and hands-on experience on how you work, and particularly on the domestic tourism in Kazakhstan. What has been done by tour operators over this period? Thank you, Mikhail, during the pandemic period. Thank you, Mikhail. Well, first of all, I'd like to greet and welcome all the speakers and participants of the forum. Yes, the basis of all this is the willingness of people to actually look for adventures and travel, and people want to experience something new, and they want to go further and further away from home. So let me ask you a question. It's a two-sided question. Do you have something else, something to offer for the Central Asian tourism? Because you told us that what you do on the domestic tourism in Kazakhstan, but you're positioning yourself as DMC for Central Asia. Have you had any experience of organizing tours, whether accepting and hosting Central Asian tourists in Kazakhstan, or sending Kazakh tourists to neighboring countries? Let's call it a Central Asian bubble, as Kairat was referring to. And the second part of my question is more marketing-based. What would you recommend to starting tour operators? Because the situation right now is that a lot of people leave their market. Older tour operators using their approaches will not be able to stay afloat, and they will leave the market, opening up space for somebody new. So we're expecting to see an inflow of new companies in tourism. What would you recommend to a beginning tour operator in terms of how to position themselves for internal tourism or domestic tourism, position themselves as some local company that organizes some local services, or take Central Asian coverage, given the fact that Central Asia is actually based or is actually hoping to see more incoming tourism because we don't have sufficient resources or we are not up to that economic level that would allow us to actually develop and continue to actively develop domestic tourism. Yes, and to answer your question, we did have experience during the pandemic. We hosted tourism from Central Asia and Kazakhstan, and we did send people to Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan. But of course, these flows are very small, and transboundary tourism has seen a revival, let's say, but we still don't feel it, and the flows are not so great. However, all right, then let's move on. Thank you, SM, very much. So this is how booking takes place. We determine a destination. We see that Kazakhstan is a very nice country, and then we start looking at the internet, looking for the information on the internet, looking for some practical and hands-on information from tour operators on their websites, or we choose a tour operator that we want to hire. And the third question is a hotel or tickets, all right? But we're going to get back to that a little later. Let me introduce Mislav Mikasek, the general manager of the Sheraton Hotel in Nur-Sultan. Mislav has an expansive experience in the hospitality business and the Marriott chain and outside of the Marriott chain. I counted up to 5 countries where you've worked occupying different positions. So you're familiar with the situation, not just in Kazakhstan, but globally as well. And I would like to focus not just on what's happening during the COVID, but how the hospitality business should be in general, because your chain, is a trendsetter and a setter of new standards for hospitality worldwide. So Mislav, I'd like to turn the floor to you. And please, the floor is yours.
Well, I do have a question, but first I would like to share a story with you. Yesterday, I arrived and I checked into the hotel, this beautiful hotel, and this morning when I left and when I wanted to leave, do not clean my room or do not replace my laundry, I didn't find that plaque. I didn't find it. Actually, I didn't find anything in paper, no pen. I think those are the new standards, going completely paperless, meaning going completely contactless in that sense. So I didn't find that very important plaque, and maybe it was abolished along with other things that in pursuit of some safety measures. Moreover, I wanted to write it and hang it on a door, and I couldn't find a piece of paper on me. And the only piece of paper that I found was a PCR test. I mean, luckily it was a negative one. So on the reverse side, I said, "Do not replace my laundry. I do not replace my linen," and I left it. I don't replace my bed. So I left it there. So naturally, the sustainability principle, especially during COVID and post-COVID, is key, and it seems to be a cross-cutting topic for tourism because people seem to be paying more attention to sustainability or sustainable tourism. And I have a question to you, Mislav. To you as a representative of a Marriott chain or Sheraton Hotel, what measures are being undertaken to enhance and to respect sustainability? So it's probably not something that's related to your hotel or to your hotel rooms or to your hotel as a whole, but these are the things. So what can you tell us about the initiatives that you support to enhance and to endorse sustainability, and what could be borrowed as best practices by other hotels? Well, thank you so much. We have nearly formed the product here on this side of the panel. Well, now we need to somehow deliver our message to the consumer. And let me introduce our next speaker, Aysel Kozhakova, who is a professional marketing specialist, a marketologist. She was the head of Expert 2017 promotion companies for 5 years. She's the author of Expert Communication Strategy. She's experienced in branding the country as a destination, as well as developing that very destination. She is also a founder of a service, a communication service promoting Kazakhstan. Could you please now communicate? We are running out of time, short of time, but what would be the message? What would be the message that should be sent or should be distributed in tourism to enhance tourism development? Hello, colleagues. Hello, participants. I thank you for this invitation. I think
I said that now. This channel-based marketing, we're moving towards local marketing, and people don't want to read about places where they're going to from some state portal pages or tourism administration, even tour operators. They want to go in and find information about a site that's written by people from that place. There's a principle like that. So Gulmira Primova from Kyrgyzstan, and by the way, thanks to you, our panel has become international or regional, let's say. So Gulmira is an owner of a guest house in a unique place in Kyrgyzstan. It's a valley, even though the perception is always the mountains, and of course it's a mountain valley, Zhargolan Valley, and I've heard about it last year for the first time. I think when we considered where to go to ski, and I think you have a best places for free ride. And we're going to learn more from your presentation. But what I'd also like to say is that Gulmira is the founder and the chairwoman of an association that's called Jurgalan Valley Destination as well. So it's not just the local service providers. And a guest house is warmest and a highly demanded place in tourism, but the so-called sustainable or ecotourism or agritourism. But as we'll understand now, the current trends push people out of towns to the countryside. So tell us what's going on. And as a chairwoman of this non-government association, what's going on there? It's very interesting to know.
Thank you, Mikhail. Good day, all the participants. Good day, all those who are listening to us or watching us online. Thank you. Bravo. Really very Instagrammable video, absolutely, and the location. And it is obviously sustainable because the location that where you are based is very remote from everything else. And actually, you can see that everything is done there. Is done by the residents of Zhirgali village. Well, I have a question to you. I am convinced that development of tourism must be supported, must be encouraged, not only by the state, which should be there by default, not only by the business itself, not only by the tour operator or touristic services suppliers, but I believe that the role of association is crucial. You represent one of the such associations. Yes, we do seem to be having new, emerging, different thematic associations. Earlier we had one or two associations, but now we have more, and maybe more niche or sectoral associations. But do you believe that development of these kind of associations, like micro association like yours, limited by a location on maybe the Republican level, the country level, maybe district level association, province level association, do such associations need to communicate with each other and collaborate with each other, including the Central Asian realm? Or do you think the association's main objective, main goal is to develop their members, to support, to encourage their members to facilitate their business development, to protect their businesses, or to lobby their interests, and that kind of intra-association collaboration is not needed? Which of these ways do you think is more necessary for us to develop we have a forum, that's Central Asia Trade Forum, so let us now speak about Central Asian product. Thank you. That is a very interesting question and an important one as well. Central Asian communities is very, very important. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, actually, I was thinking about that, and why am I calling it association? Association is kind of a formal shell, right? Formal title. But you're talking about communities. I believe, yes, that's true, because the communities play a crucial role, and maybe it's not well understood. But you have used it, and you have explained it in a very clear language, and I think it's a very interesting and vivid example. Do you have any questions to our speakers? No, I don't have it. All the places, including the very interesting location of Zhirgalan Valley. Now the time has come for a speaker who is responsible for the starting point of a travel, of a trip. Well, visa is no longer a problem for Central Asian countries, for Central Asian residents. Most of the cases, most of the countries. And what else do you have? What else is other than consulate that the tourists visit? And that's, of course, the airplane. When you get on board of an airplane, especially a national carrier, then you're legally inside that country, considered to be inside that country. I don't know, there is some discussion about that. Islam Sikirbayev, the director of the global sales of Air Astana, a company, Islam. Good day, thank you. Yes, it's such a beautiful platform.
To different destinations. Thank you, Islam. I would like to add, based on my experience, I was flying Air Astana from Moscow, and what I really liked was that a lot of airlines are saving, and they stopped providing any additional services or masks or sleepers, or especially in the economy class. But Air Astana keeps on doing this, but it's all in natural material bags, and the headsets are packed in a paper bag that says that you can reuse them. You don't have to throw everything away. So the idea is to promote this environment, the clear or eco approach, and that looked very presentable for the company. Not to say no, but become the company that focuses on these values. Thank you very much. The question to you: so all these procedures that we have to go through to be able to fly, like pre-flight procedures or additional procedures and checks related to COVID, they don't make our passengers happier, even those who are finally able to get out and fly somewhere. Is there an indicator how to measure the happiness, the level of happiness of a client that your company may use, and what would you be willing to share in terms of how to make the passenger not just more satisfied in terms of the comfort, or with the comfort and price, of course, but happier in general during the period while these passengers are on board of your flights? Yes, Mikhail, speakers are talking not just about travelers, but we're also travelers ourselves. And as well. Yes. Do you colleagues have any questions to Islam? All right. If there are no questions, we're moving on to a very important part of our meeting. But unfortunately, we have very little time left. So we will be able to consider only 2 questions out of those that were posed. And all these questions, I received all these questions here, and I have to choose only 2 questions. But I suggest that we get engaged, and I suggest, based on my experience, that is possible, and we will have this recording of this panel in YouTube. And if for those who ask questions but the questions didn't get answered, re-ask these questions again under that post. And speakers, make sure you go and visit the YouTube channel and answer those questions. And by doing this, we will actually support this video and leave this interesting content under that video on YouTube. So let me ask a question, and I just received it from Timur Dosangaliev. So I found it very interesting because he wrote a lot of interesting questions, Timur, and but I would like to raise this particular one to read it. So the pandemic and explosive growth of internal and domestic tourism revealed serious problems with the quality of staff, which remain to be better and to desire to be better. And what is required for training of people that provide tourism services in general? Let's just not address this question to Kazakhstan, but in general for the region. Who would be like to answer this very sensitive question? So education. Thank you, Mislav, very much. So I think we've answered this question as much as we could. And one more question from Azim Yegenberdiev. It's the question to Gulmira, but I think that we all can try and answer it, even though we only have 4 minutes left. It's a very interesting presentation. Does your DMO, destination, the valley destination, their Golan Valley destination, does it work with tour operators from Central Asia? Do you provide combined tours prepared in a partnership with tour operators from Central Asia? The reason I picked this question is because when we talk about destinations like yours, it mainly is about unorganized tourism during COVID. That's a disputable question. Nobody knows an answer to it. But there are a lot of opinions that the role of a tour operator will go up again and will increase, because we're used to that, to tour operators hearing that you're going to be shut down completely. You don't exist because people can do everything themselves. They can book everything themselves. But now there's an opinion that the role of tour operators will increase for some time. But then it will depend on how creative they are. It's because people started being afraid of something. They want to have somebody who would be responsible to a certain extent in organizing their tour. So how do you work with tour operators in Central Asia and Kyrgyzstan? Do you have any experience in that? Yes. Do you prepare joint packages? That's the question. Based on our experience, you find it less than enough. And of course, the tour operators from other countries are watching this discussion. Are you willing to work with other tour operators from other countries? Of course I am. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to sincerely thank our panelists. And we feel I feel that they came very prepared. I feel their in-depth competency and expertise. For everyone watching us online, we're going to have another session as part of this 5-day forum. It's called Trade and Transit in Countries of Central Asia, the existing problems and possible digital solutions. It will start at 15 o'clock sharp, Nur-Sultan time, but we have to wrap up with our session and start taking actual steps in rebooting and opening of tourism and development of tourism in our region. Thank you all very much, and goodbye. Thank you.